All right, welcome to part 4 of how to set up Microsoft SQL Server Database Administration Lab. So we are in the VM right now, and these are the two software we are going to be installing. The first is the SQL Server 2016 evaluation, and then the SQL Server Management Studio. So the SQL Server 2016 evaluation, this is the database engine itself, and the Management Studio is the interface or the GUI that we are going to be using to access the database engine. Okay. All right. So we can install SSMS first and then SQL Server later, or we can do or vice versa. It doesn't matter. But I like to do the SSMS first. So, but before I do that, on my server, on my VM, see, I have multiple drives. So I have the E drive that I'm going to use for my data files. I have my F drive that I will use for the log file. I have the G drive for TempDB data. I have the H drive for the TempDB log. And I have the I drive for backup. Okay. Some companies would prefer to use one drive for both the TempDB data and the TempDB log. So they'll pretty much lump these two together. It's fine. As long as you're using a solid state drive, you'll be fine. But if you can split them like this, even better. Okay. But one of the best practices when you're installing SQL Server is not to install on the C drive. Because as you can see here, this C drive has the operating system. You can see this Windows icon right here. It has the operating system. And sometimes it crashes. So if you put your SQL Server here on your database files here, if it crashes, then you may lose all the data. So that is why it is recommended to install and also save your database files on a drive or drives other than the C drive. And that is why we have these multiple drives here that are separate from the C drive, other than the C drive rather, that are separate from the C drive. Okay. All right. So that's one of the best practices to follow when installing. Do not install or put your database files on the C drive. Okay, let's go back to my download where I have the files. So to install this SQL Server 2016, 2016 is the version, evaluation is the edition. So you can also use 2016 developer edition as well, it's fine. But we have just decided to use evaluation, okay? And then so what you do is double click on it, click yes. Click custom and then click install. Right now it's just downloading the installation package. It's not actually installing yet. So you're still gonna have the opportunity to select what drive you want the installation file to go to, as well as the database files. So I'm gonna pause this video so that this recording will not be too long. And I'll get back when this downloading is complete. Yeah, so the downloading is still ongoing. I'll pause the recording again to save time. All right, so after the downloading, you will get this prompt right here. So we are going to click on the installation because we are doing installation, we're not doing planning. So on the left left pane, sorry, click on installation, and you see all these options right here. Because this is a new installation, right? So we're going to use the first one. We're going to use the first one here. Yeah. But if you are installing the second time, then you will use a different option. But this is the first option, we're using this one here. So click on it. So because we are using evaluation edition, we don't need a product key because it's free, right? The same for developer, it's free, so we don't need any product. So we click in next. You have to accept to continue. Check the box, click next. You're going to be doing a lot of clicking next, next, next. This is recommended to check for update. Check for current updates. So for example, if there's been updates after uh, the service pack of the one you're currently installing, we check for update and apply that. So this is recommended. Click on this. Some companies may say you shouldn't click on it. So you have to go with what your company policy is. But I'm gonna click on this and I'll say next. You know what? I'm not going to click on it because I want to use this for patching. Yeah, for training purpose, I have a plan to use this for something later, so I'm not going to check that. I'll say next. So the way we are installing the SQL Server on here, you do the exact same thing for the other two VMs, which are VM01 and VM03. Right now, I'm working on VM02. See, everything passed except for the firewall because we have our firewall turned on. So as long as we don't get an error, we're good. Warning is fine. As long as there's no error, we are good. So these are the features that we can install, but we don't need all of them. So depending on what business need the database server will be used for, that would determine what features you need to install here. But we can read more uh, about these features if you go to Microsoft documentation. Let's try to find that. So features. I'm trying to look for Microsoft. Okay, let's see this. It's not what I want actually. There's a page that explains all the features. This is not the one. Let me pause this. Let me look for it. Yeah, so this is the Microsoft page that explains or mentions some of the features. Just so you know, you can have up to 50 instances on a single computer, and these are the features. So of course, the database engine is required, while most of the other features are optional. See, the replication is optional. If you're not going to be doing replication, you don't have to install the replication feature. If you're not going to be using it for machine learning and stuff, the full text search, data quality services, you don't have to include all those ones. But the database engine, definitely, because that's the brain box. So all these other ones are also optional. So we are going to be installing the Management Studio separately. Yeah, I'm going to be doing this one separately. Let's see this link. I think there's a page that explains in more detail those features. That's what I'm trying to find. Okay, that's enough digression. Let's go back. All right, so this is very important. Yeah, we're going to install this one for sure because we are going to be doing replication later in the bootcamp. So we're going to install this one. We are not doing anything related to R. R is a programming language, so we're not choosing that. We're not going to be doing full text. All these other ones we don't need, no polybase. Even if we do need all these ones later, we can come back and add them. But for now, let's keep it simple. Okay, yeah, let's keep it simple for now. Yeah, let's keep it simple. So usually companies will tell you what features they need you to install, depending on the business need of why you are, installing the SQL Server. They will tell you, but let's just keep it simple and use that. So yeah, so this is where the installation files will be saved to. See, right now by default, it would choose to save to the C drive, but I mentioned earlier that this is bad practice. So we have to change this. You don't want the C drive. Okay. All right. So click on this ellipsis button here, these three dots. Will give us access to the file directory, and we are gonna be choosing the E drive. Actually, there's a better way. We don't have to. We don't have to, click on this. There's a faster way. All we gotta do is just come here and change this to E. There's a faster way. So even though these may not already exist, okay, let me go back. Let me go back. Let me come back here. Let's go to this PC. See on the E drive, see there's no folder there. There's nothing. But if I put E, if I put E here, so it's like I'm saying when you get to the E drive, you will see a program files folder and a Microsoft, but they don't actually exist yet. But putting it here during installation, SQL Server will create those folders, the folders and the subfolders. It would create them for us. So this is like a shortcut. Okay. So instead of going through the ellipsis button and creating those folders yourself, this is a shortcut. Just put the drive where you want these files to go to, and it would create those folders and then pull those files inside for you. So click next. Right. So of course, this is the first instance we are installing. By default, it would choose the default instance for us because it's a new VM. But you can choose to install a named instance if you want. But we are gonna stick to the default for you. Okay. So next. Okay, so it is best practice. One of the best practices to grant perform volume maintenance tasks. This is really good. It helps performance a lot when SQL Server is doing file initialization. So I will check this box, and this is where you put the service accounts. As you can see here, remember when we're creating service account, this is where we need it. So these are the default service account. This NT service. These are not safe to use because every hacker out there knows what these are. So you want to use the account you create in your Active Directory. So to add the service account we created, so click on this drop down, click on browse. We created it as a user, so as long as this user box is checked, we're good. Then where are we searching? We are searching the entire directory of the company. We are not searching VM02. That is just one computer out of a lot of computer in the company. So we are searching the entire directory, which is like the Active Directory. So now we gotta put you can put the whole name or just part of the name. If you don't remember the full name of the service account, just put part of the name, like the beginning of the name, and then click on check names to search. And bam, we'll have this. If you have more than this, it will give you all those available options that you can select the one you want. But this is the only one we have, so we're good. So click on OK, and then click on the password to type in the password. If we used managed service account, we don't need to type in the password here. So managed service account are more secured than this one. And best practice is to have your startup as automatic. So change that to automatic. So we can add the same thing I did for the SQL Server agent. You can do the same thing here, or I can just copy, click on it, copy, and just come here and paste. I don't have to go through browse and selecting the directory, and so I can just copy and paste it there. This is already automatic. So these are the three main services you will see based on the options or the features that are selected. If you are choosing some of the other options or features, you would have seen more services here. Okay, but because I chose just that one, these are the three basic services that we would see. So this is the agent. We'll talk more about SQL Server agent, and this is the engine itself, the brain of the database management system, and this is the browser. This is automatically disabled because it's a default instance. If it was a named instance, then this will be enabled. Okay, all right, so click on collation. So collation has to do with, it has to do with some settings of how this engine works internally in terms of whether it's Latin, the language, whether it's case sensitive or not, whether it's accent sensitive or not, and stuff like that. But let's keep it simple. Let's use the default. It is Latin, and it is case insensitive. So whether you type in uppercase or lowercase, according to SQL Server, if you are using this collation, it's the same thing. Some companies, for the most part, use this, or most companies use this, while very few companies will use case sensitive. So click next. All right, so authentication mode. This is how we connect to the SQL Server. So we have two types or two modes. The Windows, which is basically using the account created in the Active Directory, or you can use a mixed mode, which is a combination of the account created on SQL Server, which is SQL Server authentication mode, as well as the Windows. So it's better to choose this one because you have more flexibility. You can use SQL login, you can use Windows login to connect. You see that when I chose the mixed mode, then this option became available for me. But if I go back and I click on Windows, then this is grayed out. The reason is because this account, the SQL Server System Management account, is a SQL Server authentication. is a SQL Server authentication. So if I'm choosing Windows, then there's no business. I don't have any business putting in the password for here. But if I choose the mixed mode, then I'm activating the SQL Server authentication, which means I need SA account. So the system admin, this is SA in the SQL Server level, or on the SQL Server level. Is not the normal sysadmin of the company. So don't get it confused. This is just a sysadmin within SQL Server. It's not the same thing as the sysadmin we have here. Okay, they're different. This is just on the SQL Server level of things. So I'm going to use this. So we're going to give our SA account on SQL Server. That's why here they said, see, SQL Server sysadmin. This is just on SQL Server alone. So I'm going to give it a password, and you would confirm the password, and they have to match. If not, you're going to get an error. So the SA has the most right on the SQL Server. Okay, it has the most right on SQL Server. So we are going to be using that. And then I should add current user. If you click on add current user, that means you want to add yourself, which is I am the DBA now. So I want to add myself. I want to give myself permission to be able to connect to this. If you don't do this, after installation, I will not be able to connect. I will not be able to connect as using my Windows login. I will only be able to connect using this SA credential. So, but I have to do this so I don't kick it's like kicking yourself out. And if you want to add more people, you can click on add and add more people within the company that you think would need access to this server. But for now, I will keep it like this. And this is so this SA will enable me to connect using the SA credential, while this one will enable me to connect using my Windows login. So this is SQL login or SQL Server login. This is SQL Server login, which is this option right here. You know, you are using a mixed mode, while this one is Windows login, which is the Windows authentication option right here. Okay, so either one I will be able to connect, and we are going to demo that later. So now click on data directories. So this, we are going to be able to choose where we want our database files to be saved to. Okay, so remember when in one of the previous pages where we said the installation files should go to the E drive, and that is why this is selecting the E by default for us here. But we don't have to use E. Remember, we have multiple drives that we can save our database files to. So, but because we chose this earlier, this is where our data root directory will go to, which is fine as long as it's not on the C drive. This is E drive, but this is our data drive. Let me use that. This is where our data drive, remember? So let me go back here, go to this PC. So this is where our data will go to, this one right here is our data drive. So this is our log drive. So this will correspond to this one, the log directory. Let me use a different color here. The data, this is blue, is corresponding to this one. And then the backup now corresponds to this one. So the next tab is TempDB. That's when we will use this guy and this guy. Okay. All right. So my data file will be here, but I don't want this, this path. This path is too long for me. I can always change it. Yeah. So I'm gonna cut this out. It's too long. I'm just gonna keep it like this. Then I don't want no program files. Yes. Just want, yeah, this is the path I want. E drive MS SQL folder, data folder. It's going to create these folders for us. I don't have the folder yet. If I come here, see, there's no folder in my E drive. This is my E drive, and there's no folder here. But SQL Server will create this folder for us during installation. So, but my log will be F. Remember, this is F. So I'll change this to F. Okay, and this I don't want. It's not data, so this will change to log. Different companies use different, naming convention, but this is how I like to do mine. So my data file will go to the E drive, MS SQL folder, in data subfolder. My log files will go to F drive, MS SQL folder, log subfolder. And then the backup will go to the I drive here. So let me get rid of all of this. I don't like this is too long. What I'm doing here, you can also do it using this ellipsis button, but you don't have to. Just giving you a shortcut. Okay. You can also do use the ellipsis, but if you use the ellipsis, you have to go and create those folders yourself. But why do you need to go do that when SQL Server can do it for you? I like easy and simple stuff. This is working smart. So E, E, F, I. Okay, we're good. Then temp. All right. So best practice is to have the number of tempdb files equal to the number of CPU on the VM up to 8. So now, how many CPUs? By default, it will give you the number of CPU you have. It will give you the number of files equal to the number of CPU. I think starting from 2016 or 2019, it will give you, but let's just double check. So how many? Right now it says one. Number of files is one. So one tempdb data file. But let's go confirm how many CPU that I have. So if you want to know, come to the taskbar here inside the VM, right click, go to Task Manager, click More Details, click Performance, and this is it. See, HR processor. This is the number of processors that I have. It is one. Okay, it is one. So by default, I can't have more than one tempdb because I only have one. If you have like 8, then you should have 8 files here. But if you have, let's say, 16, you should still have 8. Don't go beyond 8. At least observe the performance of your server, see if you need to go beyond 8. But usually you don't want to go beyond 8. That's the Microsoft recommendation. So if you have 4, then put 4. If you have 8, put 8. If you have 16, still put 8. If you have more than 8, just put 8. Alright, so I have 1, I'm going to put 1. Then initial size 8. For production, if it's a production server, 8 megabytes is too small or initial size, but this is not a prod server. This is more like a lab, a test server. So we can leave it at 8. But for prod, you should increase this because if by the time you put data, this size will finish and it will have to auto grow itself again. And you don't want too frequent auto growth. That can also affect performance. So, but this is test, so we'll leave it as is. And then where the file will go to, we don't want this. So we cannot edit this one like we did for the other one. So what we can do is to remove this and click add. So this is where we have to do the work manually. So it's going to data, this is tempdb data. So it's going to the G drive. So click on that G drive and down here, click make new folder and name the folder MS SQL and click on that folder. Then create another folder. Inside that folder, and then name that temp db underscore data, then click enter and click OK. So this is where our temdb data file will go to. So by the time you now come here, remember that our temdb log is going to a different folder, a different drive, which is H, not G. G is for data, H is for log. So here, we're going to change this to H, and we're going to change this to temdb underscore log. So we don't have to do that manual stuff here. We just have to do the manual stuff up here. And like I said, if it's a prod server or a production server, make sure you change this setting to a higher number. I can't give you a specific number, but make sure you change it to a higher number. But since it's a test or a lab, so we'll leave it as is. So then click on file stream. So I'm not going to enable file stream because it's a test server. We are not processing videos or images or anything in our data. We don't have such data, so we're going to leave this as is. And then next. And then click installation to begin installing SQL Server. So all the settings that I did here, all this summary that you have here, all of this stuff here, they have been summarized into a file known as the .ini file. And this file can be used going forward to install SQL Server if you're going to be using the same settings. As long as the settings will not change, you can use this file for subsequent installation. So for example, now once I generate this file, I can use this file to install SQL Server for VM01. I can use it to install SQL Server for VM02 without having to do all this clicking that I'm doing. Because everything would have been saved inside that file. You just have to use that file with PowerShell to finish the installation. Okay. I will make a video about that, but not right now. That's kind of advanced a little bit. So now I'm going to click on install to begin installation. And then you will see that those folders will start being created here. The folders that we selected, even though they don't already exist, when we're selecting, during installation they will get created. Yeah, this may take a while, so I'm going to pause the recording so that the recording will not be too long. Alright, see you guys shortly. Alright, so the installation is still ongoing. As you can see, the green bar is gradually moving, so it may take some time. So I'm going to pause it again. I just want to show you the progress. Alright, so the installation is still ongoing, and you can see the green bar is progressing gradually. We're almost there. Alright. Alright, so it looks like the installation is complete. So you will get this if your installation is successfully complete. It says one or more affected files have operations pending. So we have to restart the VM to complete the installation. So click OK, and this will restart the VM. Okay, close. So I think we will have to restart it manually. So I'm going to close all this stuff. And then we can restart the VM manually. So come on the bottom left, come to the Windows icon and come to the top right. Here. So this is one of the reasons why you need to have, as a DBA, you need to have a local admin, right? Because if you don't, you cannot restart the VM. If you don't have the local admin right, you cannot restart. But because ADDBA has the local admin right, remember the sysadmin added him to the admin group, so he can restart the VM. So I click on restart. Yeah, it's a planned restart because we're planning it. It says someone else is still using this. So this someone else is actually the administrator, the sysadmin using the VM. But because I'm the same person playing both roles, but normally at work, you would have to reach out to the person. So how do you know who is in? So click on the desktop again, come back here. On the task bar, right click task manager. If you click the task manager, you would get this. Click on users. So this is how you know the people that are connecting or connected to the VM currently. So these are the DBA and this is administrator. These are So this is how you know the person connected, and you reach out to the person that, okay, are you doing something that you've not saved? Kindly save. I want to restart, and the person will be like, okay, go ahead and restart, or please give me a few minutes, as the case may be. Don't just go ahead and restart the company this thing. All right, so on her, I'm gonna go back and restart. Restart, blind, continue. Yeah, so assuming that the admin has given me the right to restart, I'll just click restart anyway. And just give it a few seconds, then we'll try to log in again. So I just double clicked on VM02. Let's see if we're able to log in. So I think the server hasn't come up yet. The VM has not come up yet, so let's give it more time. Okay, let's try again. Right click, connect. Okay, looks like it's back up and we are trying to log in now. Okay, we are back in the VM. All right, to confirm that our installation was successful, we have to look for the SQL Server Configuration Manager. Okay, I don't need this, I can minimize this. We'll look for the SQL Server Configuration Manager. So come to the bottom left, click on the Windows icon and type config. Yeah, this is what we're looking for right here. This is where we manage the SQL Server database engine. So I'm going to right click on it and I'll pin it to a taskbar. It's not giving me the option. Okay, let me just open it. Click on it to open it. Click on yes. And when it comes up here, right click and pin to taskbar. So I don't have to search for it again the next time I want to pull it up. So come up here, let me minimize this. Yeah. So this is where we manage the configuration of SQL Server. So click on the left pane, click on SQL Server Services. Remember those services that we put in the service account for during installation? Yeah, these are the services. The SQL Server browser is still stopped or is disabled because we don't have a named instance. We have a default, so we don't need a browser. So this is the SQL Server database engine itself, and this service, the engine service, and this is the agent service, and they are both running. See, they are running. This one is also running. The start mode, according to best practice, has been set to automatic, and these are the service accounts running them. We are not using the default. This is an example of the default, but because the browser is disabled, we didn't have to change that. But this is a service account created in the Active Directory. Okay, all right. So as long as these two services are running, then that's a confirmation that the installation was successful. So now we need to be able to access SQL Server. So now we need to install the SQL Server Management Studio, which is our interface, the graphical user interface through which we will be able to communicate with these guys. Okay, so I'll go back here to my File Explorer, go to my download folder, and this is the SQL Server Management Studio. That's the meaning of SSMS. As simple as it is, it's another interview question. Okay, SSMS means SQL Server Management Studio. Okay. Right. Sorry, sometimes my brain is, or most times, my brain is faster than my fingers, so I do a lot of typo. I would like to think this is correct. Okay. All right, so to install SSMS, this is version 19. So click. It says Microsoft.NET Framework is required to install this one. 4.7.2 or greater. So we have to get this software to be able to use that. The reason is because you are using Windows. The operating system you are using is Windows Server 2012. So what I would do is come to the server manager, click on add roles and features, click on next, 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 next. Oh, what we need is 4.7 or above, but this is 3.5, so this would not work. Yeah, this will not work. This will not work. Let me click the arrow again. Oh, where did I see 4.7? It just says it needs .NET. Let me go back. So this will actually work then. So next, 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 next. So check this box. And next, and click install. So I'm going to pause this. The installation is still ongoing. So let's give it some time. You see the blue bar is gradually moving, but slow. So let's be patient. All right. The installation is succeeded. Our installation is successful, so we are good to go. So I'm going to close this. Here it says, if you see this, all right. So let's click close. Then let's go back to installing the management studio. Double click on it. Ah, this is not working. Okay, this is what I was looking for earlier. Yeah, I remember I saw 4.7. So the one I installed was 3.5, so it won't work. So we should go grab the later version. Let's see. Go to Google.net. What's the latest one? I know there's 4.8, but I don't know if there's a later one than that. So come to the Microsoft web page. Okay, this is the recommended one. So let's grab that one, the 4.8. Grab this one, the offline installer. Click here to download manually. And click save as. Put it in the save it as .NET 4.8. All right, so I saved it on my host, but I actually need on the VM. So I'm going to come here. Remember, we mapped the VM to the host. And this is it right here. So right click, copy, and come to download. And the download is on the host. So just Control V to paste it. And double click on it to install it. Click yes. Sorry about that. I knew I saw 4.7, but then all of a sudden I didn't see it again. So the .NET 3.5 that was initially installed was not the right one. This is the one we need because the error says it needs 4.7 or higher. And this is because we are installing the Management Studio 19. If it was 18, I think the 3.5 would have been enough. So while this is installing, I'm going to pause the recording again. All right, so we have this after a few minutes. Accept, click install. I'm going to pause this again. Oh, okay, looks like this is going to be fast. This might be a quick one, so we may not need to pause. Okay, I'm going to pause it. Right, the installation is complete. See, start and click finish. So we have to restart the VM. Okay, so let's restart now because if we don't, the installation will not be fully complete. So I'm gonna click restart and I'll come back and install SSMS. The VM is not back up yet. If you are using later Windows OS like Windows Server 2016, you don't need to you will not run into issues like the .NET issue because I'm using Windows Server 2012. That's why I have to go through that. So at work, you won't run into having to need to install .NET because they will use the most likely the latest version of Windows. So now let's try to connect back into the VM02, double click. Okay. Alright, so pull up my file explorer, go to my download folder where I have the SSMS saved, then double click to install. So we shouldn't get that error anymore. Damn, okay. So this is an interface. So we can leave this on the C drive. It doesn't matter. This is an interface. This is not the engine. This is not the SQL Server engine itself. This is just an interface to communicate with the engine. So we can put it on C drive and we can put it on a different drive. Okay. Let me see if you can change this. Okay, let's see. Click yes. Yeah, to confirm what I said earlier, the SQL Server would create those folders for us. Remember when I checked the E drive, there was no folder there. But now let's check now. My computer is freezing. So if I open the E drive, see, these folders were not there before installation. So during installation, SQL Server created all these folders for us. So if we go back and check the other drives, for example, the F drive, see, this was created for us basically because I didn't create all this. The only one I created was the TempDB data. Even the backup, we created all this for us. All right, so that's that. So I'm gonna pause this. It shouldn't take that long, but I'm still gonna pause it anyway. All right, so SSMS has been installed successfully. So I'm going to hit close. So to pull it up, come to the bottom left, click on the Windows, just type SSMS. And you see it here, so click on it. And then we have Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. So this is how we communicate with the database engine. Did it crash? I think it crashed. Oh, okay. Good. So I'm going to pin it to taskbar. You don't have to search for it the next time. So you get this prompt for you to connect. You see the server type, you are connecting to the database engine. There are different stuff that you can connect to. You have the engine, you have the analysis, you have the reporting, integration, Azure, but this is what we're interested in. Remember the name of our server is VM02, and we are using, remember we have two types of authentication, the Windows and the SQL. So when you are on-prem, for the most part, you have these two, but when you are talking about cloud, then you start talking about this Azure stuff. So you are using Windows, this will come here by default for you. By default, this will be here. The username will be there for you. VM backslash then the name. And you don't have to supply the password because it is linked to your Active Directory. It is linked to the Active Directory, so you don't have to supply password. So I can connect by just clicking connect. And I'm connected. So this is me connected using Windows authentication. So I can also connect using SQL authentication. Remember, we selected mixed mode during the installation. So to connect, again, click on this icon right here, or you can just click on connect. They do the same thing. But if you click on connect, then you have to select the engine or whatever service you want to connect to. But I like to just click on this plug and just come here and just say SQL. So if you are using SQL authentication, you have to provide a user or the login and then provide a password. Remember, we have every SQL server, as long as you're choosing, you chose the mixed mode, has a SQL login, which is the SA. So the SA, also known as the sysadmin, is a SQL login. Then you give it the password. And this is the password that you put when you were installing SQL Server. And then just click connect. So I'm connected to the same server, VM02, VM02, but with different authentications. Here I'm connected using Windows, login. Here I'm connected using SQL Server login. Okay, we'll talk more about permissions and connections later in the bootcamp. But this is the end of how to set up your lab. So the same what we did for VM02, do the same thing for VM01 and VM03. So by the time you finish setting up your lab, you would have VM001 here. You also have VM03 here, and you have you have all of them here too. So sysadmin, they have access to all the servers in the company, but the DBA only have access to the database servers. And what are database servers? These are servers with SQL Server or any other relational or non-relational database management system installed on them. Okay. Thank you for watching, and I hope you are able to set up your lab successfully.